Now, the interest of the country must now become paramount for both protesters and country's leadership. But how will the country maneuver these waters that appear strange to both sides of the divide? Ajoke has had a chat with Opal Tometi, a co-founder of the Black Lives Matter movement.
What do you make of the indiscriminating shooting of peaceful protesters?
My heart is broken. I'm sorry, that was just emotional for me. Watching those images, hearing the stories, speaking to people even after it's happened, even seeing what's happening right now, because there's still a lot that's happening even right now in the streets. And it's hard. It's devastating. I've never thought I would see something like that in my lifetime. And I know that some of us were fearful that that might happen, but I wasn't sure I was hoping that the government would operate with some restraint. And so I've been very emotional and shaken, even as I'm working and mobilizing the diaspora. But it's such a sad day for Nigeria. We'll never forget that. We'll never forget. I think the protesters have to focus on keeping themselves safe first and foremost. Protesters, they have the right to raise their voice. They have the right to assemble. They have the right, if it's constitutionally, in the Human Rights Declaration, all of that. So we know people have the right. So the first thing is protesters must be respected. They cannot be killed. They cannot be brutalized. They cannot have these paid thugs sent on them. We can't have that. Paid people who are, poor, vulnerable people being sent on them to attack them. So I think that to me is number one. I don't know about any infiltration. I haven't heard those types of stories. What I've heard is that people are being attacked. And that's the most frightening issue of this time. And that, I think, is why the entire world is responding the way they do. We've seen, from people, if it's Hillary Clinton to the United Nations, Chief, be it Rihanna, whoever, all of these people who are all around the world, Secretary Clinton, all of them are responding because they see that there are attacks on these protesters. And that's, I think, the number one issue. I do not believe that there is a real problem. From what I've heard, from what I've seen, there is not a true problem in terms of that type of infiltration. If it's infiltration, it's because the government has been complicit in sending in vulnerable communities to help quell and shut down the protest. People have the right to assemble in the ways that they see fit. They are actually protected. They are. And we know that curfews have been used to quell and stop, gatherings and so on. And if the people on the ground think they need to continue to protest because their needs and their demands have not been met, they have the right. And even if they violate that curfew, they do not deserve to be met with force. They do not deserve to be met with bullets and to be murdered. Absolutely not. And I think the entire international community stays very clear on that. Even if people violate curfews, they should not be brutalized. They should not become victims of a massacre. No.
How do you think Nigerian youths can progress from this point?
I believe that the Nigerian youth have to stay strong. They have to stay the course. We admire their courage. We admire their sacrifice. We admire what they're doing. We know that in many other places, we're being inspired by what is happening in Nigeria. And we encourage people to continue to look for and press on for their justice that they've been demanding. That 5 for 5 must be met. And we know that it's the right thing to do. These are basic human rights, fundamental, inalienable rights that people have, and they should be respected. And these demands should be achieved, and they should be achieved swiftly. There are a lot of people calling on the president, a lot of people calling on the African Union, a lot of people calling on ECOWAS to speak up, to make sure that they stand with the people, the peaceful people who are asking for nothing but dignity, for respect, things that they should be afforded. And especially in the midst of a pandemic where there's so much hardship already, people are looking for the basic protections from their government, and they deserve that. They are owed that. Too much has been taken from the Nigerian people. It's time that the resources, the support is given back to the average Nigerian.